Okay, thank you very much for joining, Joshua. So, today we're going to start our new course, which is the OTHM Level 7 um, Diploma in um, Immersive Software Engineering. So, this is a Level 7 qualification. So, you now have to we now have sessions for 6 units. So my name is Victor Anyarobi. I will be your tutor throughout your course. So
Okay.
I'll be looking after delivering the tutorials and marking of your assignments. So I'll be your main point. So if you need any sort of if you have any sort of queries or any doubt regarding your assignments or whatever you have to do, you can reach out to me via email or through the group chat or even
Okay.
during our sessions. If you have any question, like at the end of the session, you can just ask me and I can assist you throughout. I can assist you for any sort of issue. So in this course, we have 6 units. Um, as we're going to start with web designing. And as we go along, the administrators will now schedule the sessions for the other 5 units. So the other 5 units are going to include database and SQL, which is structured query language. Then we will look into agile methodology. Then we'll have a unit just based for cloud computing, I think.
Yeah.
And we have agile project management, cloud computing, and DevOps. And then we'll have software programming principle and practice in Java. So this unit will be more focused on programming with Java. So we'll now learn the basics of Java until we look into object-oriented programming, OPP, OOP, sorry, and we'll look into concept of polymorphism, abstraction, and so on. So we'll learn everything you need to know about Java. And then our final unit, I think, is software engineering, which will now look into security measures which are used in the software engineering field. So this unit, what will happen is that we will have a couple of tutorial sessions. So this unit, I assume there is 6 to 7 sessions, which I believe you will receive the recording link from our administrator. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
There's like 8 LO
Yeah.
learning outcomes.
Yes.
And
And then,
apparently everything will be practical.
oh yes, so hey, we'll have theory session, and also you'll be, because the assignment is a practical assignment, so you now have some practical, which will now allow you to understand what you have to do in the assignment. So you won't be stranger, you won't have any issues when it comes to writing your assignment. So
Okay.
so the LOs are theoretical, and then at the end of LO, we'll have a demonstration. So we'll have a practical session for you to understand what you have to do for your assignment. Do you have any questions so far, or is anything you want to know from me before we start our unit?
First of all, there's only pass and fail, no merit or distinction, is there?
Exactly, yes, because this unit is credited by OTHM. So as you can see from um, I think there is a course handbook, which I do not have at the moment, but I can share the unit specification. Um, let's see if it's unit specification. Yeah,
Yeah.
can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. So as you can see, marking criteria. Yeah, as you can see here, it says these are the regulatory information. As you can see, overall grading type, pass or fail. Yeah.
Oh, so everything's pass and fail.
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'll make sure you be provided with all the necessary information for you to pass the course. So I'll be here to assist you throughout the journey, and you shouldn't have any sort of issue. So you can
Okay.
see it's a 120 credit course,
Mm-hmm.
and is very um, important and acknowledged qualification. Yeah, so do you have the course handbook with all the information you need to know regarding the
Yes,
course?
I have it downloaded.
Okay, okay, so this is good. So there's no need for me to go throughout this information because I believe you have done a course induction as well.
Yes, I've done an induction as well.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So they have already introduced everything to you. That's great. Let me just do my presentation again. What is it? Yeah. Okay. So now I will start the session. So I just want to give some housekeeping tips. Please make sure that you mute your microphone and do not use your phone or any sort of distraction. And whenever you have any question, we'll cover them at the end of the session. So I'll try to ask a question. So it would be much appreciated if you follow
Okay,
along the session.
you want me to mute my microphone?
Yes, yes, you'll be muted throughout the session.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm muted now.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so for our first tutorial, we're going to understand what are the building blocks of a web page and the basic need to design it. So what is our unit aim? So this unit will now focus to equip our learner with necessary knowledge and the skills for them to implement basics web pages with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So what do we expect? We expect that the learner by the end of this course will now be able to implement simple static web pages with a good use of tags. So we now have good use of HTML tags, integration of CSS designing, and then we will now add some interactivity. So we'll now make this website able to interact with the users with the integration of JavaScript. So JavaScript is as the difference between JavaScript and HTML and CSS is that JavaScript is actually a programming language, while CSS and HTML are markups languages. So we'll now look into what markup language is throughout the session. So as we can see in today's session, our indicative content is going to look into tags, opening and closing tags. We'll now look into blocks, like how we're going to subdivide our header, body, footer, and how we're going to be working with divisions to make our blocks more readable. So we now have some theoretical aspects where we're now going to define understand what is HTML. So HTML simply stands for hypertext markup language, and it is a standard language used to create and design documents on the web. So this HTML language is just simply creating documents. So the way you save your Word document with an extension which is DOCX, which stands for Word document. With HTML, we're going to save this document at the same way, but we're going to do that with an extension which is .html. So whenever we now going to create our document, this will now be saved on our machine with his own extension. And in the same way, this will be done for CSS. So we'll now have our maybe main page, we could now save it as a style, and we will now save it as style.css to identify which document type is being saved. Okay, so we do have like a nice video which we can use to introduce what web designing is. 1 second. Just 1 second, let me share. Let me just share the screen again. Share screen. I hope you can see the screen. Share sound. Skip
online. It encompasses web design. Web design is all about creating the websites that we see online. It encompasses a wide range of skills and disciplines required for website production. Web design is generally used to describe the design process only. Sometimes, however, the term also includes the maintenance of websites. To be a good web designer, you need to be a good writer, graphic designer, and user interface designer. You must know all about HTML and proprietary software. Clients will expect their web designer to be familiar with SEO. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. If you are involved in web design, aim for a clean and simple website. Choose a domain name that is unique and easy to remember and write. It must upload fast, and you have to make it accessible to everybody, including visitors with disabilities or limited vision. A good web designer knows that people don't only visit websites using laptops. In many cases, over half of online visitors are on their smartphones. Is your website responsive? That is it mobile friendly? If not, you could be losing out on a loss of visitor traffic and income. Although web design and web development are closely related, their meanings are a little bit different. Web design ends when the website goes online, while web development begins when the website is online. Website maintenance is part of web development, not web design. Today, many experts say that web design is part of web development. Thank you for watching this brief video on web design.
Okay, so that was a small video to introduce what web design is. So before we get started, I'd like to explain how this has to be done. So in order for us to get started with creating our first HTML pages, we'll now need a IDE, which could be a text editor. So I will highly recommend Visual Studio, or we can look into something like Notepad++, which I do not have on my machine. Okay, I do not have Notepad++ here, but I do have Visual Studio. Okay. Let me just close this stuff there. Okay, so we'll now have to create our new file. So we're going to say hello.html. We're going to save that here. Yeah. So I'm now using Visual Studio Code. Let me stop sharing it here. I'll share it here instead. Share my screen. Screen 2. Okay. So there are different type of text editor that we can use to create these files. So for this tutorial, I chose Visual Studio, but there is a high range of software that we could use. So there are many of them that we can download, like Visual Studio or Notepad++, but then there are many other ones that we can use online, like Code Sandbox, for example. So this is a really nice IDE which runs on the web. So you just need to sign up. Let's see if I can do it from here. Do I have a Google account? I don't think I do right now. No, okay, I don't have one. Okay, I'll make sure I'll download one for the next tutorial. So I've now introduced our IDE, so where we'll be doing this, where we're going to be running our codes. So there are different options. As I mentioned, there are Code Sandbox, there are online code editors, or there are desktop applications that we can download, such as Visual Studio Code, Notepad++, or we can even run these commands from our command prompt, from our command terminal. So I prefer using Visual Studio Code. So throughout our tutorials, I'll be using Visual Studio Code to show you how to run some demonstration. Okay, let's get back to it. So as I was saying, our unit, our learning outcomes, we are now required to design and implement a basic web page. So what we now required is to design and implement a basic web page, which will now involve several steps. So we're now going to start with our HTML. So we're now going to look into the components, how these HTML, what are going to be the components that who all together are now going to give us our HTML web page. Then we're now also going to design our CSS. So our CSS is going to define the style. So we now we're now going to choose the type of font, background colors, and all the information that will now make our website look good. And lastly, we'll now integrate JavaScript, which will now allow us, for example, to create a login page. Say, for instance, you're trying to create a web application where your customer can now log in to purchase product. We now need to have a really responsive and reactive web application. So we'll now integrate JavaScript. Or for instance, if we now having a proper responsive web application, we'll now integrate some frameworks such as React, Vue, or Angular, depending on what type of framework we'll now decide to use. So here we have some steps that we have to follow. So we're now going to use step 1, where we're going to identify our HTML structure. So normally how this is structured, we now have a header, where in our header we're going to put our title, logo, and navigation bar, for instance. And then we'll have a body. So inside the body, we'll now include all the designing and information that we want our website to display. And at the end, we'll now have a footer. And in this footer, we'll now add all the useful links and information related to our website. So here we have an example of how this will now look like. So we need to define what is the language. So most of this is done in English. So as we all know, this code editor will understand the English language, and how, as I've explained, HTML is a markup language, so you only identify tags. So we always need to have our opening tag, and then we need to have our closing tag for all the blocks of code that we're going to write. So as I said, we now have opening and closing tag for our title. So in our title, we now have my basic web page, and in our title, we can now add our title. We can now add in the header. So in the header can now include even an image. So we can include our logo. And in the body, as I said, can now have its own division. So we can now have another header, which will be related to our body. And then we can now add links, which are now going to link to other web pages, such as our about or contact us page. And also there are different other ways for us to subdivide this. We can now subdivide them with sections. So we can now decide to either have pages linked to our index page, or we can keep everything into one single document. So we'll have sections. So by having sections, that means we'll have a middle section where we will now contain about us with all the information related to the business. Then we'll now have contact us, or we can add as much sections as we want. So we'll now add them and call them service, product, portfolio, or whatever we want. And it is very important that we make sure that we close our tag. So we have our closing tag. So this is the structure of a closing tag. It always have to have this break at the end of it. So for each tag we open, we have to close it. So as you can see, the structure, we have a main, which has to have an opening and a closing one. CSS is our cascade style sheet. In the CSS, as I said, we're going to define our style. So we now define our font size, font family, and so on. So when it comes to front-end development, which is what we're looking into now, front-end development will now require you to have good CSS skills, where you're able to style these web pages. So what makes a good CSS, what makes a good style, can be defined with the use of a bootstrap. So by using bootstrap, we'll now have these frameworks, which will now allow us to include different type of styles. So this won't be just a plain CSS, where we just have a background color and we have a font size or so on. With a bootstrap, we'll now have different type of framework that we can choose from. And then lastly, as I said, we'll have JavaScript, which is our now programming language. This obviously has to be linked to our index .html file, and by having this link to it in this separate document, we can now add codes that will allow us to make our web page interactive. So we can now store data, or we can now retrieve or allow our user to interact with the website. So for us to becoming a good front-end developer, we will now be required to have good knowledge about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and at least one framework, such as React, Vue, or Angular. Also, let me share one useful website where you can learn more about CSS, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So in W3 School, it's a really good website which gives us an introduction. So it shows us how this is going to look like. So for instance, welcome to my website. Can put like I can now run. Oh no, actually I put this on the title. 1 second. Yeah, was meant to be here. Yeah. So as you can see, we've now added, we have now changed our text. So we can do stuff like adding, for instance, we can create new tags. So what I added a break. So for example, this break will now send the text to the next line, for example. We can have so many of them. There's so many things we can do with HTML. So this is a small example of how this has to be done. And yeah, W3 School is gives you step by step everything we need to know. So he explains element, attributes, headings, and everything we need to know. So for example, attributes, where we have the hyperlink one. So this hyperlink, by adding this, will allow us to add insert link, or we can insert images, or we can link one page to another page. So yeah, basically integration is what I was explaining. So integration, or we can even call them attributes, allows us to have our tags where we're now able to link one page to another. When it comes to linking CSS, you just have you just have to integrate the link with the with the name of the document you save. And when it comes to integrate with JavaScript, you now have to have a script tag. So this example now demonstrates a basic web page layout. let me share the, just share the, yeah. Links here. Here they are. So here we have an example of different type of links and how this has to be done. Yeah. So we'll look at this in more details in our future section, future tutorials. Now we're going to understand the building blocks of HTML5s. And as I said, HTML web pages are all divided into blocks where you always have the opening one, HTML tag, and we'll now have the closing one. So here's the example. So we have our opening tag and our closing tag, and in between we put all the details that we need to know. So the title is always the one that we see at the top. Whenever you open a tab on Google Chrome, Edge, or any sort of browser, you will now have a title. So normally that title is going to be the name of your business. For instance, if you have if you have Nike, if you're Nike or a big corporate, they will have the name at the title. So whenever you open a new tab, you see that. Then you now have links. So we now have link to our CSS, and with our attribute href. With our attribute, we're going to define where we're going to find this information. So our opening tag for our link will now include the name of our document, and then our attribute is going to define where we're going to pull out this document. Also with script, we're now going to have the name of the document and where we're going to put this source document. As you can see here, purpose. So title, as I said, it's going to show in the browser title bar, and this is the name of our business. Body is going to include sections, divisions, and everything else, such as link images, tables, or anything that we want to show in our index page. Headings, so we could have heading for our main body, our header, or our footer. So do not mistake header with heading. So the heading tag can be inside our header. So the two different things. And we have paragraph. So paragraph are defined with opening tag, P, closing tag. And this is how we have to close at the end of our paragraph in order for CSS to understand that we're just giving a plain text. So we're just giving a description of something. Then we have anchor tags. So these anchor tags allows us to link with our attributes. Also, we have the ability to add images. So whenever we're adding an image, we need to download this JPEG, GIF, or whatever extension we have for this image. And we also need to give a description. So we need to define what's the name of this image. So maybe in your web page you might have 50 images, so it's best to give them like a name or a small description for you to understand what image it is and where you're going to use it. Also, we have a list of tags. So when it comes to our navigation bar, and we're trying to add a list of pages that will now be linked to our index page, we now need to have a list of tags. So this list will allow us to better understand how we're going to structure our website. Also, we can integrate forms and tables. So our website can have loads of features that we can add. So all these features can be done through forms and tables. And also we have divisions. So it is really important to not get confused between sections and divisions. So divisions, for example, have the purpose of generic containers of element used for styling and layout, while a section could just could allow you to have a separate section. So division will now break into blocks, while section will be separate. We just talk about a specific topic. Here we have our final learning outcomes, where we're going to design and implement a basic HTML page. And what we can see when it comes to designing and implementing this will now involve understanding the purpose and how this can be done effectively using a web page. So when it comes to heading tags, there are different types. So we could have header 1. So let me go back to W3 School. Where we are this. Yeah, this is heading 1, where we could add heading 2 tag. This. Yeah. You can see the result, where this is smaller than the first one. But if we change, for example, we put it back to H1 and H1 here, they will be now the same size. So we can put something like H5 and H5 here, run, and you can see how tiny this description is pretty much same size of our paragraph. So this is how heading tags works. So it's basically defining the size of a title, for instance. So these tags, we will look into them more in details when it comes to our practicals. So this is an example of a simple web page where we have integrated everything. So we have our heading. Now we have our head with our title. Then we close the head. We now have our body. In the body we have our first heading 1, H1. Then we close it. Then we'll have a small paragraph. Then with our second heading, we'll now include a link to a website where we can add maybe another sort of link to somewhere else, to an image. For example, here we have a link to an image. And also we have a link to forms. So as I said, we can integrate forms, tables, or so on. And then once we've done all of this, we have to ensure that we close everything. So this was everything for today's session. Is there any question for me, Joshua? Hello? Sorry, can you hear that? Can you say that again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to get the mic back on.
Yeah,
So from everything you just said, it
yeah.
seems like it's a general simplicity of like everything about how HTML is structured. But I do have some questions about it all.
Okay.
Okay, from what you said, the markup language, like I know programming languages, like heck, even me, I'm interested in game languages like C++ and things like that.
Yes.
But HTML and you said HTML and CSS are a markup language.
Yes.
So is
Markups.
it like it's like setting up a building block?
Yes, yes, yeah. Mainly everything is made by blocks. So you have opening and closing tags. So it's not like how you program with JavaScript or C++. So everything here is made by
So
tags.
HTML
Yeah,
So HTML is the building block, like how you can create the navigation bar, then you have
yeah,
to create another bar underneath it, and
yeah,
inside that bar is a search bar, and then underneath that is maybe if you watch a YouTube video, on
you
the
have the
left
link.
will be
Yes,
the video, and on the right will be the playlist.
yes, basically, yeah.
Yeah, and CSS is what makes it,
The
gives it
design.
color,
Yeah,
the
it's the design.
design.
Yeah,
Now, I don't know what JavaScript does, but I know you will explain it in a later video, so I'll ask the question there. But
yeah.
you mentioned something that I didn't quite understand, Bootstrap.
Oh, yeah. So
What
Bootstrap.
exactly is Bootstrap?
Yeah, so it's like a framework which allows you to um because if you have to design with CSS from scratch, you take you forever.
Okay.
But with Bootstrap, by integrating this, you just you speed up the process, and you can have you can they're like frameworks, already made frameworks which you can now integrate, and they will give you a good responsive design. So loads of people integrate Bootstrap. This is an
So,
example.
so Bootstrap allows for it to help you make it more
Your CS,
flashier,
yeah. Your
rather
CSS
than
should,
it being a generic red, white, and blue.
yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
You see this? This can be an
Um,
integration. So you get you have um your
it reminds
sorry
me of
your Visual Studio. Then you now download your Bootstrap. So you now download this framework, this
yeah.
this framework. So it normally comes as a CSS files, and you just integrate them into your project.
It reminds me of WordPress websites.
Yeah. Okay, so WordPress, they already made, while
Um,
Bootstrap, the coding that is coded, hard coded, and you can now edit it. So you now tweak it. You can now do all the changes that you want to do to make it look more like yours, like you own it. While these are already like predefined, and you just edit it. Does that make sense?
that makes sense.
Yeah. So Bootstrap, yeah, is really good. A lot of
Okay.
people integrate them to their CSS files in order to make the graphic more user-friendly. So you improve your user interface. Yeah.
Um, So my next question is that you said that you could save a file as HTML and HTM. What's the difference between that exactly?
So HTML or CSS, I meant, sorry. There's no
No,
HTML.
no, HTML or HTM. You could be saved as either.
No, sorry, I was meant to say HTML or CSS. I got it
Oh,
confused, yeah.
okay. In one of the examples you mentioned, it mentioned ID, like an ID tag,
IDE is a
not IDE. It said it was linking like ID footer or something like that in one of the examples. It was attached to one of the tags.
oh yeah. You mean HTML ID here? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's HTML ID. From
Yeah.
what I've heard, ID is not exactly something wise to be used all the time because it has a one-way link to it and it can only be used once in a while.
Yeah, because it's for a specific image.
Yeah,
It's not reusable like something else, like a class.
yeah,
So
that's what I've heard.
yeah. Classes, you can use them more often because you're defining a class like a group of things, a certain group of things, while ID it will be for a specific um, value or a specific image or whatever you're using. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask is div and span and sections. I understand div is another way of making a block level. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't exactly have a definition like a header or a footer, but it's
Yeah.
just like another box. But what exactly is span and section?
Span, I think spanning more allows you to, it's more like a break. So whenever you need to break like a section, so you've been writing a paragraph, you can now use a span or a break, and you now break the text. So you send it to the next line.
Okay. You send to the next
Yeah.
slide.
Yeah.
So they're used for sliders.
No,
Like,
it's okay. So you see how you have paragraph. 1 second. Can you see my screen?
yeah.
So before I used, you see when I did this. Yeah.
Okay. Break.
Yeah. So on the right hand side, you see he sends it back. Span should do the same. I think the difference is that you need opening and closing one. Paragraph. This is a paragraph. Should send you back. For some reason it's not doing it. Span is just not here. I'll just look into span again and I'll get back to you, okay?
Okay.
Because I was
Now
pretty sure you have the same function of a break, which will send you back to the next line.
before that, before I go to my final question, there's one more question.
Yeah.
The break. Why can't you just do it like any other Word document where you can press enter and it goes to the next page
No,
and it can
because
do that?
you have opening and closing tag. So HTML does not understand what you're trying to do. So for him, he thinks you're just writing one single line. So you need to make the markup language understand that you're trying to go to the next line. So you need to add this function. Let's use like programming language example. Break, we can use it like a function that allows you to send it to the next line. You
Okay.
understand? Because the markup language does not understand what you're trying to do. So it's built to do certain type of things. So you must add a value that will make them understand that you're trying to do something else. So you add break, so you understand that you want to send it to a new line.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now for the first practical for
Yeah.
learning outcome 1, what exactly do I need to accomplish?
So basically for today, you're just required. So you say, are you familiar with HTML, CSS? Have you ever done something before?
I have been looking at some of the books.
The book. Okay. So for today, I just need you to download a text editor. So are you familiar to Visual Studio?
Yes, I'm familiar with Visual Studio Code. I have it on my computer.
Yeah. So as long as you have Visual Studio, be easier. So can you open it right now? You just create any document, you save it with the extension HTML,
Yes.
and then we'll need something to run this on the browser. So you now need to download the live server.
The live server.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we now okay, so we'll go back. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Can you click on exclamation mark?
I'm trying to load my system.
Okay. So here I have Emmet, so which is a nice extension for working with Visual Studio. And Emmet allows me to have a predefined structure. So now I have my HTML, which is defined with English language. Then I have a closing HTML tag. Then I have a head where I'll now change it to welcome to my website. Then I'll do Control S. I'll save this. Then I'll now run this. So I'll go live. Open the folder workplace. Oh yeah, I need to save in a folder. Why did I just save this file? Open folder. Oh gosh, I didn't show you the full process. I don't think I was sharing the right screen, sorry. I don't know if you see what just did. Did you see this? Did you see my video?
I saw that.
Ah, you saw it. Okay, okay.
Well, you wrote an exclamation mark, and then I think you wrote down HTML, and then it gave you a template of everything.
Yes, yes. He gave me this template, this boilerplate, and then since I have live server as extension, I just had to click on go live, and this will redirect me to Google Chrome. So this is the port which my server is running to. So it's running on port 5500. Because if we go into our Visual Studio, can you see down here on the right hand side, port 5500.
Okay.
So if you go back to here, well, actually, let me split the page in the way that you can see both of them. Yeah. So you see here. So let me close everything else that is not relevant. Okay, so now we have our port. We have our, you see at the top here it says, welcome to my page. So because I added the title in our body, now we can put our first header one. Let's create like an online store. How are we gonna call this? I don't know any random name. Stock. We already have StockX, Stock Z, where we're selling our shoes. So it'll be a e-commerce website, for example. So we have this, Control S, save. Made a mistake. So you see now.
Yeah.
So this is H1, header one. But there are loads of things that we can do. We can add images. But we need to download the image first. So there are loads of websites where we can download free images like Pexel. Are you familiar with Pexel?
No.
Okay, so the thing is that when you have a website, you're not allowed to just download random images and upload them on the internet, because there is copywriting issues. So you know what copywriting is, right?
Yes, I know what copyright is.
Copywriting, trademarks, and stuff like that. So we need to download free images onto our machine. So I just downloaded this image, which is free. And now I want to add this image. So to add this image, I just need to have a tag, opening tag. Image. No, just 1 second. As we saw that before here. Why is this not opening? So you need to know where you save the image first of all.
Okay.
So we need the source. So where did we save this image? Where did I save it? I think it's in my downloads somewhere. Download. So let me rename this. I'll rename it as image 1. And is there. Then we have to have our opening tag. Source. Then we put them. What was it, the name? Image 1 dot JPEG. PG. Then we put like a description for it. So there's a shortcut. So we remember we always have to put description attribute equal, and by clicking equal you give you automatically the quotation marks. This is first image, and then we close. Then we hit Control Save, and the image was not picked up. Yeah, okay, so let me explain. Do you know why this did not load the image?
Is it because you didn't say which folder it's in?
Exactly. So I just downloaded it, but I did not move it into his folder.
I see.
So
Now, you wrote down hello world, which I can understand that's the name of the HTML file. But from what I've heard online and what I've been reading, it says here that normally the main page is normally called index.
Yeah. So
No,
yeah,
but
sorry.
even if it is
I
called
confused.
index,
Yes.
why is it that pages like main websites like Google, YouTube, Wikipedia, they have their official names like wikipedia.org. It doesn't have like wikipedia.org index or something like that.
No, that's due to the domain. So
Domain.
yeah, so first thing first, on your folder, you have loads of pages there. So you have one HTML, one CSS, one JavaScript, one whatever framework you have. And then when it comes to load it into the internet,
Yeah.
you will now have to look for a
A
domain
domain.
hosting. So GoDaddy, maybe.
So
GoDaddy.
the,
Have you heard
so
of
that's
Go?
when the
Have you heard of
index gets converted into the domain name.
No? Have you heard of GoDaddy?
Yes, I know GoDaddy.
Yeah, for example, GoDaddy, where is online platform where you buy domain names. So that .org is because they purchased a domain. So our website is called StockZ. Then we can put stockz.co.uk. Why? Because we purchased our domain. So it was a available name. That's why he has that name. He's never gonna come as extension .html, .css because you have to purchase your domain. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah. So coming back to our CSS, as you said, the image has been loaded, but because we did not define the height and length, this is extremely huge image. So we can put height 30. and then length. No, sorry, I'm doing it wrong. It's not length, it's width. We hit Control Save, and now it's extremely small. So let's try and make it bigger, or maybe another way. No, it didn't get bigger. So we try adding 10. Yeah. So we can add links to website. We look at link. We can create so many things. We can add our paragraph. Thank you for subscribing to our page. Hit Control Save. Yeah. Well, were you able to create your folder and open it on Visual Studio?
Okay.
Were you able? Yeah, I'm asking.
Oh, you're asking me about a folder?
Yeah, did you open Visual Studio?
Yes, I opened Visual Studio.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. I should have saved this as index. As you said, this is index. Oh my God, now it's gone. Cannot get LO1. Yeah, it's too late now. Yeah, initially I should have saved this as index. You were right.
Okay.
It didn't come up to my mind, sorry. Yeah.
I'm quite understanding a lot of this. Now I just want to know for the website that you want me to create for a practical,
Yeah.
is there anything in particular that I'm required to add and create a draft, like some kind of example, or you're gonna give me a document that explains everything I need to have
So,
in it?
sorry, you have you already looked into the assignment discussion?
Yes, I already have in some areas.
And what was your question again? You said
In the
yeah,
assignment brief
yeah,
for assignment 1,
yeah,
we have to do like design and implement a basic website,
yeah,
understand the building blocks of HTML5, and design the implement basic HTML tags.
yes.
Is there any kind of document that explains exactly what I need to insert into this example web page? Because you said web
Oh,
page, not website. So obviously you just want me to create one file. Is that correct?
1 second. Let me try to find create a web page using basic HTML tags. Apply the basics. Start using. I think a web page would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, web page,
Because you
basic.
have
Yeah.
assignment 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but is there not meant to be at least a document that says what is required in it? Like a
Or
full,
like a README document.
yeah, README document, like explaining.
That's additional. That's additional. It's extra. If you feel like you want to make it more understandable, you can do so.
Okay, so I just have to do, you know, do whatever I've just learned today and making my own kind of document.
Yes, your own documentation. Yeah, that'll be,
I see.
yeah. Or you can maybe add comments. There's not commenting here. I'm getting me confused with JavaScript. Yeah. Oh yeah. So would you rather make a README or insert in comment into the code? Huh? One
Oh,
second.
okay. You mean add a comment?
Yeah, so you said instead of making a documentation, you can maybe, I don't know, explain the code here.
No, not exactly explain the coding. I'm not talking about inside the code. I'm talking about like maybe is there not an extra assignment brief, like assignment 1? Just that,
Like a
and
Word
then
document. Is that what you mean?
yes, that what is required. Like you need to have
Yes.
H1, you need to have image, you need to have
Oh
this.
yeah, yes,
That
yes,
way,
yes.
I'm not just doing a basic thing. Like, what's the separate practical assignment 1 document that says what I need to have in it? This is just overall of everything.
Oh, so you are asking if you can create a Word document where you explain what you've done, and then you have your files, which are your practical. Is that what you're saying?
No. I was just trying to find out exactly what is required inside the first assignment. Like I can create a web page, but I just want to know how much do you want me to add
No, no, there's
until
no,
it's required as a pass.
no, there's no a minimum or a maximum. As long as you make a good use of tags, where you were able to add the images, you were able to create a paragraph, you were able to use division and section. So you make a good looking web page, that's good enough for you to pass. Does that make sense?
Yes.
There's no a maximum or minimum, like this is very how would you say, it's very subjective. So, like people might like it, someone else might not like it. So as long as you were able to create a code, your markup language with integrating good use of all the features like division, section, and whatever, that's good enough for you to pass. Because I thought you were talking about creating a documentation, like a Word document, but
No,
there
no.
is no minimum or maximum of things you can add in your web page. You can add whatever you think would make your web page look good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Is there any other question?
No, not at all.
Okay, then. So tomorrow we'll carry on. We'll look into more things about HTML, CSS. So we'll now create our CSS. We'll link it. We can now try to integrate more designing and Bootstrap perhaps to make our first web page look more user-friendly.
Okay.
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 So that's everything for today. And if you don't have any other question, I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Would
Joshua.
the also the
Yeah.
recording, would it be sent to me?
Yeah. So do you have access to Moodle?
Yes,
Do
I
they give
do.
you access to Moodle? So
Yes.
what they do is that at the end of every session, they upload the recording just underneath the presentation. So you have maybe web design LO1, and underneath you have recording LO1. So
All right.
everything will be like structured in a way that you can look at the presentation and watch the recording.
Okay.
Yeah. That's everything, and I will see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.